Hi everybody, I'm Blue Lagoon, and today I'm talking about some of my favorite vocal retrowave tracks that came out in May of 2022. My first two picks for this month are from Future Cop's new album. The album is a mixture of instrumental and vocal tracks, both male and female singers. I bounced off much of it, but there were two tracks in particular that I really enjoyed. The first one is a collaboration with Parallels called Home. This is a big, rich, triumphant song. It's got big acoustic drums. In the louder sections, it's got these great crystalline kind of driving synth arps. And then in the quieter sections, those turn into these almost classical sounding piano arpeggio parts. The track just does the whole build up, breakdown thing really well. The other track on the album that I really liked is the collaboration with Kabelle. Kabelle sang on one of my favorite songs from last year, so I was excited to see her come back. This one features yet more of those sweet Future Cop synth arps. It's got some great clean guitar parts in it, but really this track is a showcase for Kabelle's vocal, and I really like her voice and how it's always just slightly chaotic, a little bit surprising, doesn't always do exactly what you expect, but it's always very emotional. Next up is a song called Feel It by Dameron. Dameron is a husband and wife team that make music together. I've had a few of those on my list, which is kind of neat. Musically, the song sounds almost sample-based, like it has a lot of bleeps and bloops and kind of chopped up things going on. I really like the vocal refrain on this track, Your Love Looks Good on Me. It's a very sweet sentiment. Overall, I just feel like this track is celebrating sort of a solid, good relationship, which is, in pop music, it's usually a little more high drama than that, which is nice. There's a really great breakdown and build back up in this song where the vocal lines kind of start to intertwine in a cool way and the vocals go up. The one downside of this track is that in that sample, there's some guy that's yelling like, hey, yeah, and I didn't hear it the first few times I heard this song, and then it popped out at me one time when I was listening with headphones, and unfortunately once you hear it, you can't unhear it, and it's kind of distracting, but I know that my tolerance for vocal samples is way, way lower than most people, so hopefully it won't bother you. But it's not a total deal breaker, of course, and the song definitely is still worth checking out. There's one other really good vocal track on the album that I suggest you check out called Landfall. The rest of it is more like sort of abstract, synthy kind of stuff, instrumental mostly, that I bounced off of personally, but those two vocal tracks are really good, and really looking forward to more from these two, and I hope that, personally I would like them to lean more into the synthpop direction like they did on these couple songs. My next pick is a song by Siena called Be Your Girl. It's abbreviated, so the title of the song is B-U-G, but this is a very light, breezy, bouncy sort of kiss-off, breakup kind of song. It's got some really great little guitar fills in it, and I like how the range of the vocals expands as the song goes on. There's a really cool long breakdown and build-up section in the middle of the song, and it almost goes full trap. It's got a really cool halftime section, but it doesn't quite go all the way. It's got some of those sort of hi-hats in there, but it fortunately never goes full trap, and it's really cool. Alright, next up is the album called Watch Out by OctoGain and Kiki. And so much of Retrowave music, I think, focuses on a very idealized and specific sort of 80s music. Like the whole Outrun sort of neon grid, palm trees aesthetic or whatever, synthwave kind of stuff. This album definitely tries to plug into that, the first and last tracks especially. But for the most part, this album is throwing back to what 80s pop kind of really was, I think. I feel like if you took a time machine back to like 1989 and you picked a pop artist off the top 40, bought their tape, put it on, this is kind of what you get, for better or worse. The album has just immaculate production. It's got, the clean Strat guitar lines, it's got the DX7 tines, got the mixture of electric and acoustic drums, it's got the soft rock kind of background vocals, the guitar solos kind of veer into hair metal territory now and then. They definitely nail the era musically. Kiki has a very solid alto voice with a nice dash of gravitas. The lyrics on the album are pretty straightforward. Honestly, sometimes I kind of wish that they were a little more flowery, a little more metaphor stuff going on. But you get the impression that they were going for just absolute direct, shot through the heart, pure 80s pop. And when it works, it really works. My favorite songs on the album are the longer, slow burn kind of songs. My favorite probably being Dawn. It has these massive drums that come in halfway through. It's one of the songs where Kiki really uses both ends of her range to great effect. And it culminates in just an absolutely silly, fantastic hair metal guitar solo. This album just has a ton to offer Retrowave fans, and I highly recommend checking it out. I think it's the kind of album where no two people listening to it are going to come away with the same favorite songs, like everybody's going to have different picks, but it's absolutely worth listening through at least once, just if for no other reason than to hear people making sort of the less remembered, non-obvious brands of 80s pop. Alright, my next pick is a song that's a really nice mix of dark synth, synthwave, new wave. I even get some vague punk rock vibes from it. But it's a song called The Longest Hour by Red Mecca. The rhythm section of this song is where I get those punk vibes. It's just very satisfyingly propulsive. The synth sound design is great. The main synth pad is big and washy. I really like how on the chorus line, I'll be your persona, they do this cool like robotic, some kind of manipulation or chopping of the vocal line. I do feel like the song requires one caveat. There's a long synth intro, and then when the vocals start, the vocalist sounds like she's kind of at the bottom of her vocal range. So there's a lot of vocal fry going on. Just something about it kind of put me off the first couple times I listened to it. But you got to stick with it, because very quickly you completely forget about that first phrase, and the whole rest of the song sounds much more confident. But definitely stick around, because the overall song is fantastic. Next up is a song by Wings of Fire called Have the Stories All Been Told? And just from the very opening synth lines of this song, it's one of those songs that just makes you exhale, let out a sigh, and just kind of go along for the ride. The arrangement is ever-changing, with all kinds of bits and pieces coming in and going out throughout the song. It always keeps it interesting to listen to. In fact, sometimes I wish that some of those pieces would stick around more. There's like this really sweet edge-style clean guitar part right at the beginning of the verse, and I don't know if it ever comes back, or if it does, it's mixed in pretty deep, but it's like, no, I want more of that. But there's always something to keep your interest. Not that it even requires that much, because the song is so pretty and the vocal performance is so good. It has just the right level of melancholy that I think, I'd be along for the ride anyway. Next up is Summer Nights by Crozet. This is a big, double-time ballad kind of song. I love the bass on the synths in the verse. It's just got a really big, deep sound to it. Some really great synth arpeggios happening. There's a really nice raspy edge to the lead vocal. Like a bunch of songs on the list this month, there's some really sweet, clean rhythm guitar parts, especially coming out of the chorus. And as an Alaskan who spends a lot of time in the wilderness, I have to say that while not telling anyone where you're going is a nice romantic idea for a lyric, it's a very bad idea in real life. Always have to file a flight plan, kids. Tell somebody where you're going. Last on my list today is Fantasy by Oakman. Oakman made my list a couple months ago, and this is just another pure power pop song from them. It's got super punchy production, some fun synth parts. It's got yet more really nice, clean guitar parts. I tell you, I would betray King and Country to get the guitar sound that they have on that part right in the pre-chorus. And this track is another example of a trend I've noticed lately, where the pre-chorus is so catchy and hooky that it's almost like the song has two choruses, really. All right, everybody, those are my picks for this month. I hope you'll check them out. To that end below, there are playlists for both Bandcamp and Spotify. I hope that if you like something, you'll follow and purchase and support the artists any way you can. Shameless plug, I have a new vocal retrowave song of my own out now called Hinterlands, featuring my friend Celisa Thole. So I'll put my link below too. Please check it out. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.